Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. This is Laurie A. Smith. This is One Child Abuse Survivor to Another Restoration. I'm glad to be here. It is Tuesday morning, 6:30 in the morning here in Calgary, Alberta, September 20th. And just having coffee, waking up. Haven't been up all that long. And just trying to wake up here and glad to be here. Thanks, everybody, for tuning into my shows. Like I always say, I appreciate it. You know, it's a lot of work keeping up with my shows, so I really appreciate you taking the time to do that. Hopefully the information is helpful for you. I know it's helpful for me. And it's just a morning reflection, really looking at, what I can do to sort of keep track of what I need to work on and what I'm not doing, what I am doing, what I need to do, and sort of keeps me accountable, holds me accountable to continue on my journey. I really have, I'm busy most of the day, so I do this in the morning because it's the first thing kind of that I do, and that way I make sure I get it done. And instead of putting it off, because it's really easy to put this stuff off. So thanks, everybody. I hope you can get something out of this. And if you're a survivor of abuse, make sure that you're safe enough to listen. I always say this on every show. You want to know that you're safe enough to listen, that you're not going to be triggered or go backward in your healing journey or just have a miserable day. You just don't want that. So get the information. You can find it lots and lots of places. Safety, for adult survivors of child abuse. How to know if you're safe, safe enough to be listening to certain things or watching certain things or, whatever, so you're not triggered. So if you're not sure how to get that info, one place I know of is the Adult Survivors of Child Abuse Amora Center program, and they have a Survivor to Thriver workbook, and the first chapter is devoted to safety first, and that's it's about 60 pages long. I read that a long time ago. It's really helpful. It was helpful for me to read that, so I hope that you'll go check it out. It's free. You can download it from their website. That's ASCA, Adult Survivors of Child Abuse Amora Center program, Survivor to Thriver workbook or manual. That's what they call it. So yeah, we'll get right into this. And let's see. We'll pick up where we left off. We're just looking, at. It's an acronym from Cheryl from HAVOCA, HAVOCA, Adult Survivors of Sexual Abuse. She's used all the letters and wrote little blurbs up for each letter. So it's good for anybody who's been abused. She said, not just people who have suffered child sexual abuse, but just anybody who's been abused. So it's helpful for all of us, I guess. And so hopefully this is helpful for you. I really think that she's done a good job here. We're looking at O in the word survivor. The O, and she says, open your mind to success. Being successful gives you such a sense of achievement. Believing in you is the first secret to success. Always believe in yourself. That's nice. That's true. I mean, if we're not going to open our mind to succeeding at something, every day, not just being a success, I don't think, in life, I mean, that's nice, too, to have goals and set long-term goals and things like that, but I kind of think that's really helpful for each day, open your mind to success, like just success for the day, that I'm going to handle things properly today. I'm going to do the best that I can today to, to remain positive even in the negative situations, and I'm going to reach out and get help. I'm going to be successful at that. There's lots of things we could do, it doesn't have to be I'm going to be a success like as far as a career goes or anything like that. That's always nice to think about too, but even these little things, day-to-day kind of stuff, we could say, well, I'm going to open my mind to being successful at just surviving and navigating today. That's a big one for me because I'm really under some pressure here right now. And my husband's terminally ill, and he's very sick right now, and he's just not doing well. And he's been sick for 15 years, so we've been dealing with this for 15 years. And he's been sick for 15 years, and I've been trying to help him for 15 years. And it's a long time. It's like having a 15-year-old child. It's a very long time. And he's got stages. He goes up and down, and he's in a horrible stage right now, and he's in stage. So he's not gonna get better. You know what I mean? It's a hard situation. Not only that, we have to move, and I got to start preparing to move. And I've been packing and started cleaning and stuff like that. We've been in this suite for 10 years, so there's and plus I work full time, and I've got other commitments too, and I'm busy working on a bachelor degree as well. So I'm kind of like really stretched right now, and so even just navigating being successful and getting through every day is, I think, good enough for right now. And just go day to day, and this is the thing, sometimes life throws these things at us, and growing up abused, I'm used to adversity, I'm used to trials and tribulation and struggle. I mean, I didn't grow up in a situation where in where I was only abused for like a year or two, and then and then that was it. And I had maybe a few good years before that, and then after the abuse stopped, I had some. The rest of it was good. I was just abused my whole life, and so I've had to learn how to get through all the time, right? Because otherwise I just fall down and just die. You know what I mean? Which is kind of what I wanted to do, but the issue is like I've made up my mind. No, I'm going to do this. You know what I mean? So wherever it takes me, whatever life wants to throw at me, this is just the issue. I know that things are going to come, because this is life, right? And as an abuse survivor, even though I was abused my whole life, my whole youth, really, from birth to the time I was physically abused till I was 17 years old. Sexually abused from the ages of 8 to 9 for about a year, and emotionally, verbally, psychologically abused by my two abusive parents, really my whole life while I was in contact with them. So, as a survivor of abuse, we're used to adversity. We're used to, unfortunately, but the thing is if we can handle that, then I can handle today. Nobody's abusing me now. I mean, I'm being treated very nicely by people around me. It's a matter of just learning how to cope with stuff that comes up, and how to put things in perspective. It's not a crisis. I mean, sure, it's a terrible thing. My husband's terminally ill. But it's only a crisis if I let it be a crisis. I don't have to let these things ruin my life. And the two of us decided back when he was diagnosed terminally ill, which was 15 years ago. February will be 16 years. That we were not going to let this ruin our lives. Or our relationship. We were just going to, continue on and live each day as they come and not let this destroy us, which was really smart because we've had a good 15 years. And so, but it is stressful because the day-to-day reality of it is hard on a person, So what I've had to do is, like I said, I've come from adversity. I know what it's like to have to pick myself off the ground with no help after being beaten and abused, and broken bones and broken nose and blood everywhere. I know what it's like to have to pick myself up and take care of myself because nobody was going to help me. Nobody did help me, and I had to do it myself, and then get through the day with more abuse, So I mean, I know what it's like to have to pick up myself off the ground and say, okay, I can do this. I can manage. I can make it. And so I can do that as an adult, right? I just need to learn how to cope and reach out and get help where I need it. And if I feel like I can't do it on my own, then I need to reach out and get help. And, I like to try to do things myself first, so I'm an adult, I can do this, right? But these things will come and, it's unfortunate, but this is life, right? And I know that there's more coming. It's not like this is the end. As long as I'm still living and breathing, there's always going to be something coming at all of us. This is life. And so what I'm really happy about is that I've successfully been able to manage coping for the last, especially since I started my healing journey, which was 2007. But it really mostly from 2009. So I'd say really from 2009 I've been able to cope a lot better because I started reaching out and getting help. That's why I always encourage people to get help. Because years ago, before I began my healing journey and actually started working on this stuff, this crisis stuff would have put me over the edge. I would have been so down, I wouldn't have been able to cope, and I would have been probably, in a situation of depression, severe depression, and just not doing well, and suicidal ideation and things like this, right? So that's me. That's the difference between 9 years ago. Like 9 years ago, I would not have been able to handle all this stuff coming at me all at once. But now, because I've made so much progress on my healing journey, I can actually deal with it. So I think that's why I look day to day. I don't really spend a whole lot of time sitting there thinking, 2 weeks or a month or 6 months down the road. I have no idea what's going to be going on 6 months down the road. It's kind of like I just need to do today, and I need to do today the best that I can. And I like this. Open your mind to success. Being successful gives you a sense of achievement. Believing in you is the first secret to success. Always believe in yourself. And I mean, if we're strong enough to survive the abuse that we survived, then we can certainly do life. And we just need to learn how to cope and how to get through, and also how to reach out and get help. And that's a real problem for survivors of abuse because, there was possibly no help. Obviously no help for most of us. And so if there's no help, then we just figure, oh, there's no help. I'm going to have to do this on my own. And then it just kind of, it can seem like the weight of it's very crushing. And so, what I realize now is that I can reach out and get help. There's many, many resources out there. I just need to look for them and not be ashamed to ask for help, because there's no shame in that. The real shame is when people don't get help. Like 2 of my brothers didn't get help and they killed themselves. That's the real shame, and that's where I was headed. That's a shame, right? But there's no shame in asking for help. And we just, sometimes we may not get the help right away. Like I've actually talked to so many survivors who've looked for help for certain things and couldn't find it. And I kept telling them, you just have to keep looking. You just have to keep looking, because that's what I'm going to do. So, because this is what I've heard is, you have to keep looking until you get the help you need, and keep pushing for it, right? And because we deserve that, right? Like everybody else. So I think that's good. Always believe in yourself. That's awesome. So we'll move on. We're looking at Avoca's inner child healing. And this is healing, this is looking at loving the wounded child. So this is the section that we're looking at here. And we pick up where we left off yesterday. She says, you can go back and listen to the show if you want to. By searching out, getting acquainted with, owning the feelings of, and building a relationship with these different emotional wounds, ages of the inner child, we can start being a loving parent to ourselves instead of an abusive one. We can have boundaries with ourselves that allow us to take responsibility for being a co-creator of our life, which is to grow up, protect our inner children from the perpetrator within, critical parent, right, whoever that is, right, whichever abuser it is within us, whether it's a critical parent or just one of our abusers in our mind, that still, that voice is still coming through, right? Stop letting our childhood wounds control our life, which is take loving action for ourselves, right? And own the truth of who we really are, spiritual beings, so that we can open up to receive the love and joy we deserve. So, excuse me, it's impossible to truly love the adult that we are without owning the child that we were. In order to do that, we need to detach from our inner process and stop the disease from abusing us, so that we can have some objectivity and discernment that will allow us to have compassion for our own childhood wounds. And then we need to grieve those wounds and own our right to be angry about what happened to us in childhood, so that we can truly know in our gut that it wasn't our fault. We were just innocent little kids. I think that's really awesome. I think it's probably, I'm not sure if it's Cheryl that wrote that from Havoka, but that's really awesome. And, that's very true. It really wasn't our fault. We were just innocent little kids, and little children cannot protect themselves, and it wasn't our fault. People made the wrong choices on our behalf, and whatever situation we were abused in, whatever type of abuse, it was the wrong choice, and we did not deserve that. And it's a harsh thing, having to survive this stuff. It's sad enough that there's so many children that don't, and they just die, they're just killed, outright murder, or they just die from neglect and abuse, and I survived, right? We're here, and the issue is like we didn't deserve that, and so we need to. What I did was I started taking, like they said here, taking. You have to look at the process, sort of detach from our inner process, which is and stop the disease from abusing us, so that we can have some objectivity and discernment that will allow us to have compassion for our childhood wounds, and then grieve those wounds, right? So I had to start looking at it as a third-party person, really looking in on the situation. And as far as this inner child healing work, when I went in to actually rescue my inner children at the different points of wounding where they were still at, wounded, at these different ages, it was horrific. I actually didn't realize that really they were there. I knew I was grieving and in a lot of pain, but I didn't realize until I kind of could see them, but I just thought, well, that's just memories of the abuse. And actually, it is just memories of the abuse. But the thing is those are me at that age where the trauma was so severe that I got stuck there, and so that's like a scarring. I guess I want to use probably more than anything scarring on the brain of some type, and so. The trauma was just too much. So that's a point of where I needed to go and rescue myself. Right? Somebody had to rescue me, so I did it, and get myself to a safe place, and show myself love and care. And that's what they're talking about here. Then we need to grieve those wounds and own our right to be angry about what happened to us, and learn to love. Like learn to love, like they said here, truly love. It's impossible to truly love the adult that we are without owning the child that we were. So it's it's a hard thing to do. That's why I said like I said on actually all of these shows here with this inner child stuff, inner child healing work, you need to be careful when you're doing it, and you need to be sure that you're going to be safe enough to do it. I knew that I wasn't going to self-injure or hurt myself or somebody else by doing that inner child healing work, so I was safe to do it. And even though I did have some help with it, especially the child sexual abuse, but I knew that I was safe enough to do it on my own, so most of it I did myself. And you know, you have to be sure that you're safe enough to do it because it is very painful. It's hard to do, and it's not easy for anybody to deal with this stuff. So if you're not sure if you'd be safe enough to do it on your own, don't do it on your own. You have to be 100% sure that it's not going to trigger you or cause you to not be able to cope and spin out of control and possibly hurt yourself, right? I mean, it's just not worth it, right? But this is it's something that I did this inner child healing work back in a few years ago, quite a few years ago now, 2010 mostly, 2011, 2012, right in there somewhere, and spent years on it. I've spent years on it. I'm still working on it. It's a big job, and it's just because I was abused for so many years of my life, all of my life. I've had a lot of work to do to go in there to help myself. You know what I mean? So it's been an incredible long journey here. But it takes as long as it takes, right? And it's just important to get help. So we'll pick up the rest of the next portion of this inner child healing work on Monday. And I want to look at positive reinforcement, what I'm doing right in my daily walk. We could ask ourselves, what are we doing right instead of always like, what are we doing? What am I not doing? What am I doing wrong? And getting down, like kind of being hard on ourselves, for not getting things done. Too easy to do that. That's just too easy. We need to look at also what we're doing right as well, on the positives, right? And even if it's just one little positive thing that we could say, well, I woke up today, well, then that's a positive. You know what I'm saying? I'm sorry. You got to mark that down as a positive, right? It's like, well, I managed to sit up out of bed today. I got out of bed. If that's all you can do, then you got to mark it down as a positive, Like I've been able to cope, and I haven't had real problems with not being able to function outside of my abuse. So the issue is I can work and hold jobs. I could hold 2 or 3 jobs, you know what I mean, at a time. I quite often do, and or have in the past. And I can work and hold jobs. That's no problem. I can deal with life outside of the abuse. As an adult. Even a teenager, I was working as a teenager, I was able to deal, and then as an adult and stuff, I can cope. My issues is when I'm at home by myself sitting around and I have 5 minutes to sit and think, it just comes back, you know what I mean? It comes flying at me. So my private time is my problem. I can work. It's no problem for me to get out of bed in the morning or whatever time I got to get out of bed and get ready for work and go to work because I can put the abuse away. I learned at an early age, probably because I was abused from birth, and I had to go to school and I had to interact with people, and so I figured out a way to do it. I guess that's probably what my brain just figured out a way to do it. And I guess what you would call it, the easiest way for me to explain it is instead of just putting it away, I actually put it in a drawer. Like, let's just to explain how it works. I just put it in a drawer or a closet or whatever, and I shut the door. That's it. And then I do my day, right? I got to deal with what I got to deal with, and I usually actually end up having a good day and fun with people. I'm actually a people person. I do like people, and I enjoy especially nice people. So when I meet nice people, it kind of makes my day. And I've had great jobs and a lot of success at work, and that's never been a problem for me. Even when I was a drug user, I was still highly functioning. I was a very highly functioning drug user, and that's probably because I was abused as a child, and I had to learn how to pull it together all the time. So it's like, even on drugs, I mean, I could hold a job down, 2 or 3 jobs, no problem. So yeah, I can. It's not my problem. The problem is my private time. Because when I get home, the drawer opens up and the closet door opens up, and then all that stuff comes out, and I have to deal with it on my own private time, which then causes me depression. But then the next day when I got to go to work, I'm back up, right? So I've never really had a problem with that. But some people do, and I know people, and I've had friends, and I know people who that's just their coping mechanisms, and that's just if they can't cope, they find it just difficult to get out of bed or just difficult to breathe. I know I've been down to the point where I couldn't even breathe, at the end of the day, sitting around at night, after work, or just, between jobs or whatever, and just thinking, I don't even know how I'm going to do this. And I've been there. I know it's a hard situation, and so what I would say is make sure you get help, and you have to do it. Nobody can do it for you. That's the real problem. I always wish somebody else could do this stuff for me, or I used to kind of wish that somebody would be able to come and take away my pain. I used to kind of think somebody would eventually come and take my pain away, and just help, like, not, just love me enough that, and take care of me, and just do the right things by me, that it would take away the pain. And it doesn't, because I found true love, and that's my husband, and he's made my life so good and so rich, really, just because he loves me and he cares about me, and he knows how difficult it is for me, but he can't take away my pain, right? I mean, I've had to work through this stuff, and he allows me the time to do it. Like I said, he doesn't try to get me to wear different hats and different things like that. He just accepts me as I am each day, right? Which is a real blessing for me, because I don't have good days every day. Who does? I mean, come on, this is life, right? And so, I mean, there's some days where I'm struggling, having a hard time. But that's why I'm saying, if you can look for one positive, even just one positive thing, that you actually got up in the morning, you actually sat up on the side of the bed. That's a one. That's a positive. So you mark it in the positive column, right? And you mark that as a positive thing. And then tomorrow, if all you can do is get out of bed and brush your hair, well, that's two positives right there. You know, and each day, like every little thing, we have to acknowledge, because this is hard, and that's why I really want to encourage you to get help. Make sure that you do reach out and get some help. And do not suffer on your own, and suffer in silence. That's what I did for years. And I mean, I was highly functioning, like I said. I could go to work and stuff, but nobody knew. I mean, I'd be having a great time, go out with friends after work, have a couple drinks and have fun and stuff, even as an older adult, right? As a middle-aged adult, let's say, or even, I don't know, 30s, mid-30s, early 40s, going out, having fun with people. And, I enjoy that. People like my company and everything, and they have no idea what I'm coping with at home. Like when I go home and I close the door, and I'm stuck with myself and my past and the abuse and the pain. They had no idea where my heart was, and how painful and extremely painful it really was to deal with, because I wouldn't show them that side of myself. See, so, so many times people can also hide things very well, and I was really good at that. And so, not everybody's going to know we're having trouble, so that's why I had to reach out, because nobody's going to reach out to somebody who just looks like they don't need a hand, you know what I mean? I've been very capable of looking like I don't need help, you know what I mean? So it's like, I needed help, and I knew that I was going to have to reach out. Right. So I'm really glad that I did, and that's why I always want to encourage people, other survivors of abuse, you make sure that you do not struggle on your own and suffer on your own. You reach out to find some trustworthy people, first of all, and set some boundaries, what you will allow in your life, what you won't allow. No more abuse, that's what I said. I'm never going to allow anybody to abuse me ever again. And that's my extreme boundary. And then otherwise, I have boundaries set, that there's certain things I will allow in my life and certain things I won't, and that I'll tolerate, that I won't tolerate, right? And those boundaries are very important to set, right, so that we don't become re-victimized, right? So make sure you do that stuff. So positive reinforcement, looking at positives instead of negatives. Today I can say I look for new challenges. I think we looked at that one already. Not sure. No, I think that's a new one. I look for new challenges. Because I think yesterday was I am a friendly person. This morning is I look for new challenges. Well, I don't really necessarily look for new challenges. I don't mind challenges. I was sitting around thinking yesterday, the challenges actually cause us to grow. They either cause, if we don't let them push us backward in our capabilities and whatnot, and our strengths and whatnot, then they actually do force us to grow. So challenges are not a bad thing. I was thinking about that yesterday. They kind of keep you sharp, because if you just go steady all the time, the same old thing, there's not much opportunity for growth, But challenges can also be scary. Because there's always an opportunity for something to go wrong. And something generally does go wrong. And, that's for me. I'm speaking about myself. Something always goes wrong. and so I can count on it. That's why I'm not necessarily just one of these, oh, it's going to rain today, sort of this, it's always cloudy around me sort of thing. It's not that. I'm actually a really sunny person. Problem being is it's always a lightning bolt involved in there, and it's always coming down on me, and it's like there's always something going on that won't go right. You know what I mean? And I already know that, so I'm just willing to face that and accept that probably something won't go right in whatever I'm dealing with new challenges. But it's okay because that's, like I said, I'm an abuse survivor. Like I can get up off the ground and I can dust myself off and I can assess the damage and I can say, okay, all right, I gotta keep going. So this is what I've been doing all my life. And it's like, so yeah, okay, I'm willing to face a few more new challenges. You know what I mean? But it's hard, and I find the older I get, the harder it is. Because when I was younger, I don't know, for some reason, I guess I was more used to it. I guess more than likely that's what it was. Is I was closer to the abuse at a younger age. In my 20s, I was much closer to the abuse than I am right now. I'm 51 years old. I mean, at the age of 22 or 23, I mean, I had just finished being physically abused at the age of 17, really horrific physical abuse to the age of 16. And it's just, I mean, it was much closer to the abuse at that point. I think I was able to roll and get up off the ground a lot quicker than I can now, because I've been away from, I've lived some comfortable years away from abuse, and so I haven't had to jump through hoops to make things happen. But I still look for new challenges even as an older adult, and it's not that I necessarily want too many challenges all at once. That's what I got going on right now. But I still always like new challenges because it keeps the brain sharp. It keeps my, it helps me to grow, and so I think challenges can be a really good thing. We just have to be careful how much we take on. I take on way too much all the time, and then I'm kind of like sorry that I did that because I generally have to push something off, and that's unfortunate. But we just have to be careful, like how much we take on. But it's good to take on even a little challenge, one tiny little challenge. Like for instance, I'm going to get up out of bed today and I'm going to take care of myself. That's what I'm going to do. You know what I mean? If that's all we can do, that's a challenge. That's a new challenge. That's a good challenge. You know what I'm saying? Like it doesn't have to be some big thing, right? It's like, okay, I'm going to take my vitamin today. That's a big thing for me. I don't like taking vitamins. And I have them sitting right in front of me and I never take them. And I keep buying bottles every year, bottles and bottles of vitamins. And they sit right in front of me and I never take them. And I don't know what it is. I just don't like taking vitamins, right? Because I don't like to do anything good for my body, right? Not only did my parents try to kill my body, which they really did. Both my parents actually attempted to kill me, and they just physically tortured me my whole life while I was a child, until I was 17, like I said. And then my brother sexually abused me for a year, so I don't take care of my body, right? And it's because I think part of me hates my body. I always hated my body when I was younger. I hated my body, and I hated what my parents did to it, what my brother did to it, and I hated it because I hated being a woman because of the sexual abuse. And so I had real problems with my body, and so I don't take care of my body, right? And so I'm actually trying to force myself to take my vitamins. It's like, we have to be good to ourselves. If that's the one new thing that we can do, well, that's good, right? Take the vitamin. Do whatever you have to do. Be good to yourself. That's a good challenge, right? That's a really good challenge. Be good to ourselves today, right? That's the best thing we could do. And then be good to others around us. That's the next best thing we could do. And sometimes that's hard to do, right? I know it is. Personal Bill of Rights. This is Charles H. Whitfield, MD, Healing the Child Within. We only have about a minute left here. This is number 34 that we're looking at here. And this is really cool. I like what he's got here. I have the right to grieve over actual or threatened losses. That's right. That's our right. I have the right to grieve over actual or threatened losses. That's exactly right. And losses, that's a big deal, grieving and whatnot. I think we'll be picking up some of that, looking at some of that with the inner child work here. And so we do have the right to grieve over things that have happened to us or even potential losses. It's our right to grieve. Actually, grieving, grieving I think is necessary. We haven't really studied through grief. Really, I haven't studied grief for a while. I did study it before, but it's been a while. But grief is really important to be allowed to grieve. And not have somebody tell us, "Oh, shouldn't you be over that by now? Do you really need to be all that upset about that?" It's like, we don't need somebody telling us how to feel, right? I know how I feel. And if I need to grieve something that's a potential loss, or that is a loss or was a loss, then I have every right to grieve it, right? And I think that's very important to know we have these rights. So thanks everybody for being here. I really appreciate it. Be good to yourself. Do something good for yourself today. I'm going to take my vitamin as soon as I'm done here, so I don't forget. And I wish you a wonderful day. Take good care of yourselves. If you're struggling and having a hard time, I'm telling you what, you reach out, you get help. There are people. I wanted to be on the crisis lines, but because my husband's terminally ill, they said it's just not a good idea. It's too much pressure. They said they just actually don't allow it. Like, if you have something in your life that's going on, it's just too much. They just ask you to please not do that. I want to be on the crisis lines, right? Because I want to be able to help people. You know what I mean? And so what I'm telling you, there's people like me sitting on the crisis lines doing this volunteer. They're not getting paid, and they're there because they care, right? So if you can't cope and you don't know how you're going to get through the day and you don't know how you're going to get through the night, I'm telling you what, you call those crisis lines. You call somebody and you get help, right? Take good care of yourselves until tomorrow. Bye-bye.